Good morning, boys and girls. So today we're going to talk about the gifts that God has given us because everything that we have comes directly from God. And there isn't a single thing on this earth that we have that really belongs to us. So our job is to take care of these things that God has given us and allowed us to use for His great glory in His great plan. So, we're going to read a story about three servants and a master. And this story was actually told by Jesus. Remember, we've been talking about parables. Do you remember what the word parable means? The word parable means that it's not a true story, but that it's a made-up story that can help to teach us about something in real life. A parable is a lot like a fable. We've read a lot of fables that help to teach us a real lesson about something in real life, just like in the story The Rabbit and the Hare, or The Hare and the Tortoise. That is a fable, and it teaches us a lesson about real life. Or The Ant and the Grasshopper, that's another fable. So a fable is a parable, but the difference between a fable and a parable is a story that Jesus told people to teach them lessons. So let's read. So again, the kingdom of heaven, that's where God lives, that's God's kingdom, can be told by the story of a man going on a long trip. So we're going to start with a man going on a long trip. Let's find out what that's all about. He called together his servants and gave his own money to them while he was gone. He just gave him his money. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last. So let me draw that for you. So 5 bags of silver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back then, they didn't have money like we do. They would pay in silver. But here are the 5 bags of silver that the first servant had. So I will write servant number. That means number 1. Number 2 got 2 bags of silver. And servant number 3, can you remember what I just said? Servant number 3 got how many? He got 1 bag of silver to care for. Okay. So he divided them. The master divided it in proportion to their abilities. He divided it based on how well he thought they would do in taking care of it, because he trusted them. So he then left on his trip. He went on his trip. He gave all his money to his 3 servants, and he left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. So to invest means that he was able to spend this money in a way that actually made more money. So he took good care of the master's money and actually made 5 bags more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wish I could draw these neatly. 5. So 5 more. He started with 5 and then he added 5 more. So let's find out what servant number 2 did. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. So he was able to grow the master's money and earned 2 more bags for the master. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. Do you think it's a good idea to just bury money? Can it grow when you bury a hole and put it in the ground? No, that's not how you should take care of your money. Not in this story anyways. So he hid his master's money. After a long time, the master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. He said, "Hey, how'd you use my money?" The servant to whom he had trusted the 5 bags of silver to invest, the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more." The master was very pleased, and he was full of praise. He was happy. He said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been so faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." So that means that he got promoted. That means that he was given more responsibilities, and he was able to do even more for his servant. And that is a good thing for a worker. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." So the master, he celebrated with servant number 2 because he took very good care of the master's money. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back." But the master replied, "You lazy servant! If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? Why didn't you put my money in a bank where it could have grown? You knew what to do. At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away." So in this story, we were talking about money and how 3 servants use their money. Well, this story can mean more than just money. It is applicable to more than just money. It can mean things that belong to you. How do you use the things that belong to you? Your toys, your talents. Talents are things that you can do, things that you're able to do, like sing. Can you sing well? Can you run well? What can you do? What is it that you like to do? Or even things that you have. Remember what I said, everything we have is from God. That includes things that we know how to do. God gave us that so that we can bless others. So these masters, he trusted them. The master trusted these 3 servants with his money. And he wanted to see what they would do and how well they would take care of the things. Servant number 3 was lazy, and he didn't do anything with the money. Servant number 2, even though he didn't get very much, he still grew what he had to bless others. And servant number 1, he grew the money that he had to bless his master. In this story, the master is God. He's supposed to represent God, and the servants represent us. Are we going to use what we have? Are we going to share it with others? We have talents, we have gifts that we have gotten, we have toys, we have books, we can read, can't we? That is something that we can share with others to help to bless God and to bless others. So remember, you don't want to be like servant number 3 who didn't do anything with his talents or with his belongings. You want to be like servants number 1 and servant number 2. You want to grow what you have, and you want to use it in a way that pleases God. Okay? So thank you for listening, and I will see you later.